Hello, I'm Giles Darling and I write novels, plays and non-fiction books. In this trio of videos I continue to talk about creating characters in your novels, screenplays or TV scripts that audiences will care about. This is based on character traits, external events and perception by others, along with how to maximise the impact so that the audience wants to follow your stories all the way to the end. But first, please feel free to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just a couple of clicks, it costs nothing and it's free. Also, when you've finished watching this video, please check out the rest of my channel, especially where I talk about the various books that I've written. I hope my channel encourages you to buy my books, available on Amazon, see the link below, and to read them if you haven't already done so. What's more, every so often, the ebook versions can be downloaded for free. Now let's get back to the video. In my previous video, which I link below, I talked about character behaviours and desires. Now let's look at something beyond a character's control, for example events that happen to them, perhaps due to bad luck, because of the actions of others or some other cause or combination of causes. This could be the risk of something hazardous occurring, such as a vehicle's brake cable snapping or a gas pipe in a house rupturing. Alternatively, it could be something dangerous, such as a deadly virus or an approaching hurricane. If these events are linked with some sort of countdown or timer, this heightens the tension and increases the audience's desire to find out how a character reacts to whatever happens next. The audience's attention can also be heightened when a character experiences grief or sorrow, for example due to the death of a loved one or the loss of something treasured, such as the family home in an earthquake. A different type of external event is when a story's character is treated unfairly or unjustly, for example a divorced parent prevented from seeing their child, or an innocent person sent to jail. If the villain in the story is a corrupt authority figure, this can increase the audience's interest further, because it's human nature to root for the underdog. However, if the audience doesn't care about the character yet, then the impact of these external events will be reduced. Therefore, it's often necessary to have the character displaying various behaviours and desires, as discussed in my previous video, first, before the external event occurs. Alternatively, you could use backstory to detail a character's inner workings prior to the external event. However, this can be less effective than showing the character in action. Can you think of other types of external events that can heighten the audience's interest in a character? Maybe you can suggest examples from novels, films or movies. If so, please feel free to add your comments below. How a character reacts to an external event can also make the audience care more about them. Indeed, many stories focus exclusively on a character's reaction, in which case the external event often occurs before or at the start of the story. If it occurs before the start, then it will form part of the character's backstory, and it can be referred to, perhaps in the story's dialogue or by a narrator. Or it can be shown via a flashback or a series of flashbacks, as or after the audience gets to know and care about the character. Alternatively, many stories start with the external event, such as a traffic accident or a mysterious murder, perhaps relying on shock value to catch the audience's attention. These stories then follow how a character reacts as they deal with the impact and aftermath of the event. In all these scenarios, a character's reaction needs to be believable. However, an unusual or atypical reaction, perhaps after a short period of reflection as the character comes to terms with the situation, can also pique the audience's interest. Examples of atypical reactions include deciding to investigate a crime themselves, assuming the character is not a detective or a police officer, or deciding to stand up to a bully or a villain despite not having the necessary skills. Indeed, if the character has little chance of success, at first at least, this increases the audience's engagement even further. Depending on the type of story, a character could maintain a cool head in a crisis, going on to plan, prepare, and execute their revenge. Perhaps part of this plan requires them to learn a new skill. Showing this character transformation can all attract the audience to the story. Often, this progression of steps can be shown as a montage, especially if the story spans a period of months or years. However, montages can sometimes become a cliché. Can you think of other character reactions that can make the audience care about a story? Maybe you can suggest examples from novels, films or movies. If so, please feel free to add your comments below. Another way to steer an audience to engage with a character in your story is to show how the rest of the cast in the story react to the character. Do they admire or despise this person? How do they show or express this admiration or disdain? Who does this person remind them of? Is it someone positive or negative? If other people in the story like and want to be around the character, then it's likely that the audience will also similarly want to spend more time with the character. This is particularly the case if those other people are themselves likeable and wholesome. For example, pillars of the community, spiritual people, or just best friends. This admiration by others within the story must, however, be genuine and earned, maybe as part of the target character's backstory or following some earlier event. Conversely, if evil or unlikable people in the story dislike or wish to harm our target character, then the audience is likely to root for our character. This is loosely based on the notion that my enemy's enemy is my friend. A further way that the perception of a character can influence the audience's opinion is if the character is associated with a famous person that people admire in real life, for example a movie star, a TV personality, or a popular campaigner. This association could be stated explicitly, for example with dialogue by the rest of the story's cast, or it could be shown via similarities between the character and the famous person. This could be similar appearance, behaviour, habits, or beliefs. Alternatively, the character could be linked by association with the famous person. For example, they have similar jobs, they grew up in similar neighbourhoods, or they overcame similar obstacles earlier in their lives. This famous person could still be alive or someone from the past. Can you think of other ways that perception by others can make the audience care more about a character? Maybe you can suggest examples from novels, films, or movies. If so, please feel free to add your comments below. To see me talk about how to maximise the impact on your audience of the techniques discussed so far, please watch my next follow-up video, which I link below. Before you go, please don't forget to like and subscribe this video at my YouTube channel, and to buy and read my books, available on Amazon, see the link below, if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching, don't be a stranger.